Hello everybody, this is Chad with Elite ELDT, coming to you with another short video to discuss ELDT misconceptions and interesting facts. Alright, the first one that I want to discuss is how much time does ELDT take? Now, as always, there's a lot of bad information being circulated out there, and so I get a lot of people that call and say they've spoken with other schools and they told them they have to have the 120-hour course or the 90-hour course, something like that. But the truth of the matter is that the federal regulations do not state any time requirement for ELDT. In fact, what they say is that the student must demonstrate proficiency in the required skills, being vehicle inspection, backing maneuvers, and road driving. So if you can demonstrate proficiency in those areas, then that's what ELDT requires. It doesn't require a certain number of hours. However, there are several good reasons why you might be hearing people state a number of hours when it comes to their training. In fact, many privately owned trucking schools, their programs are approved by certain professional associations like the Commercial Vehicle Training Association, which might require them to train for a certain number of hours. Another reason you might hear a number of hours being stated is that each state might have a different requirement for CDL training. And keep that in mind. That's going to segue into our next topic, is that the states can impose their own requirements of CDL training and CDL trainers as long as they are a higher standard than federal regulations. So even though the federal regulations do not state a minimum number of hours that are required for training, your particular state might have such a thing. Okay? One more thing to keep in mind is that if you're talking to a technical college, they might have a minimum number of hours required in order to grant people college credit for their courses. All right, so the next topic that we're going to discuss is who can become a training provider for ELDT. Now, last year when this mandate came out, it was most people's impression that anyone could become a training provider, and that's still true for the most part. But I think the least known aspect that people consider is that they have to not only meet the federal regulations, but they also have to meet those state regulations. And like we said, each state could have its own regulations for CDL trainers, as long as those regulations are to a higher standard or more stringent than those required by the FMCSA. And when you're looking to meet those requirements, that's where you might have some difficulty because, of course, if you can't meet the state requirements, then you're not supposed to be doing the training. One of the most common things that I've seen in my research is that states will require anybody or any company who is doing CDL training to be licensed by the state or by some type of post-secondary education group. That is difficult to meet for a particular individual. In fact, there are exceptions in some states, at least some of the ones I've researched, that allow for this training to go on without being certified by the state or by a professional association, only if it's in the case of a company that is training their employees free of charge. And that means they cannot make them work for a certain period of time to pay back their training. So do your research on your state, see what the requirements are of CDL training providers, and make sure you can meet those requirements before you try to self-certify through the training provider registry as an ELDT training provider. All right, there's one more thing that I want to mention, and it kind of ties into something I said on part 1 of the ELDT misconception video. And if you saw that, you might remember what I said about using the terms DEF fluid or ELDT training. Today I want to throw out this one. I get calls all the time and people say they want to get their CDLs, and it just makes me cringe because I think, well, how many do you want? You can only have one. But people have been saying that for years and years and years. They want their CDLs plural. I don't know why. It's just a CDL. You only get one. So maybe that'll help some of you. Maybe I'll just give you a good laugh. Either way, I appreciate you watching. And like the video, please. Subscribe if you're so inclined. And be safe out there. See you later.